Before departing, he issued an order to the surrounding dragon guardians. Everyone, retreat immediately. Remaining here served no purpose and risked provoking Zhang Yi, leading to unnecessary casualties. Judging by Zhang Yi's actions, he wasn't acting out of anger or revenge. He remained composed, employing the most rational means to seek justice. This spells big trouble. Xinjing will have to pay a heavy price to make chaos stop. Jin Yuanzi shook his head, then departed aboard an armed helicopter. After much deliberation, he still sent a communication to Qin Qigong. Once connected, he deliberately exposed the bloodstain on his chest for the other party to see. Commander Qin, I failed to stop chaos. His current power is terrifying, I was no match for him. Zhong Yue said helplessly, not forgetting to add 2 faint coughs for emphasis. Qin Qigong's expression darkened. He took a deep breath. Understood. This isn't your fault. After all, even I never imagined he could grow to such a level in just half a year. Such astonishing growth had only ever been witnessed in one other individual, Ho Tu, cultivated with the entire resources of the Xinjiang region. But Zhang Yi? He was a lone wolf, relying solely on himself. Could it be? His talent surpassed even Guanlong Yue's? Qin Qigong dared not dwell on it. His mind was now consumed by one word, regret. Seeing Qin Qigong's tormented expression, Zhong Yue couldn't help but ask, Commander Qin, I must ask, what exactly did our region do to provoke chaos? He had interacted with Zhang Yi and understood the man's character. Zhang Yi was cautious and prudent, never taking risks lightly. He certainly wouldn't ignite pointless conflicts over momentary pride. Otherwise, he wouldn't have endured Li Changgong's repeated provocations for so long. A man like that wouldn't oppose the Xinjiang region unless pushed to the brink. Qin Qigong remained silent for a long time, his expression filled with inner turmoil, finally dissolving into a helpless sigh. I did nothing wrong. If there was a mistake, it was that I underestimated his strength. Theoretically, Qin Qigong's approach held no flaws. As the supreme commander of Huaxu Kingdom's largest region, he possessed ample justification to suppress destabilizing elements. Moreover, who could have foreseen that chaos, once comparable in power to Zhong Yue, would rapidly evolve into a terrifying force even Ho Tu struggled to contain. The odds of such a thing going wrong were as slim as matching every number on a lottery ticket and still winning the jackpot. Unfortunately, Qin Qigong had stumbled into precisely those odds. He now wanted to slap himself silly, but the deed was done, and regret was useless. Zhang Yi had plundered the Ghost Valley clean. However, he always conducted himself with restraint. Even now, as he came to collect payment from the Xinjiang region, he would never push things to the extreme. Regarding the Yuan stone veins in Ghost Valley, he only took what was visible to the naked eye. As for those buried deep underground or hidden in hard-to-reach corners, he turned a blind eye and left them behind. After all, he was merely collecting debts, not seeking to completely sever ties with the Xinjiang region. It was enough to inflict pain. There was no need to drive them to the brink. No one wished to face the consequences of that. However, before departing, he did not forget to make one final trip to Snow Dragon City. Following Gao Tianwu's instructions, he thoroughly ransacked the warehouse's inventory. Zhong Yue now dared not obstruct Zhang Yi at all. The tens of thousands of dragon guardians and ordinary soldiers in Snow Dragon City, fully armed, could only watch helplessly as Zhang Yi passed through. They watched helplessly as he opened the warehouse doors and took away all the accumulated Yuan stone veins. Good work. After completing this, Zhang Yi turned with a smile and waved to the dragon guardians and common soldiers. The soldiers held their rifles, yet dared not point them at Zhang Yi, instead resting them across their chests. Seeing Zhang Yi's friendly demeanor, their faces were filled with awkwardness. That's all for today. Zhang Yi slipped his hands into his pockets and said indifferently, but these items are merely temporary interest payments. Pass this message on to the higher-ups in Xinjiang. I will absolutely not let the person who attacked me off the hook. Of course, Xinjiang is far too dangerous. I'd rather not go there myself. But you see, as a space attribute mutant, travel is quite convenient for me. If anyone from the Xinjiang region ever wants to leave Xinjiang city in the future, a cold curve lifted at the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth. Then they'd better pray they don't cross paths with me. As he spoke these words, Zhang Yi lifted his head to gaze at the sky. At that moment in Xinjiang, Qin Qigong and the other high-ranking officials heard Zhang Yi's words and saw his expression, transmitted to them without any hesitation. Every face turned grim. They weren't afraid of Zhang Yi in a direct confrontation. But when had he ever said he intended to confront them head-on? Apart from Ho Tu and Xidagarba King, aren't the rest of you in the Xinjiang region human beings? Zhang Yi had thoroughly plundered the Yuan stone veins in Ghost Valley. This operation alone would plunge the Xinjiang region into a resource shortage for nearly a year to come. Building large domes for heating, as had been done before, would become difficult. Daily energy usage would also have to revert to previous levels. Zhang Yi acted with calculated restraint, enough to inflict tangible pain on Xinjiang's inhabitants without crippling the city's vitality. People must always pay the price for their actions. That very night, Zhang Yi returned to Blizzard City. He did not go back to Tianhai City, nor did he inform anyone at Tianhai City's 3 major bases. His absence meant the threat of the Reaper of Love vanished. Residing in Blizzard City, he was undoubtedly the safest. Here, he would receive immediate notification if the Reaper of Love was activated in any region worldwide. During this period, Deng Shintong, well informed as ever, came to find him. Zhang Yi, does this matter involve me too? Deng Shintong sounded somewhat remorseful. After all, it was he who had invited Zhang Yi on this trip to Neon City. Even the subsequent turmoil on Star Island had been orchestrated by him. Unexpectedly, Qin Qigong had pinned all the blame squarely on Zhang Yi. It's your business to know. So you'd better make a list and sort out the compensation you owe me. Zhang Yi said lazily to Deng Shintong. But deep down, he didn't blame Deng Shintong. This day was bound to come sooner or later. Even without this incident, his lone wolf approach would inevitably draw resentment from other major regional powers. If Xu Jing had the capability to replace Zhang Yi, he'd likely be the one most eager to see Zhang Yi disappear. Deng Shintong rubbed his nose, his expression uneasy. But this stalemate isn't good for anyone. Zhang Yi shot him a glance. Someone sent you as a mediator? Deng Shintong gave an awkward smile. The Deng family has connections in Xinjiang, so. You know. Zhang Yi replied coolly, I'm not unreasonable. But this time, Xinjiang made the first move. If I don't make my stance clear, won't others just treat me like a soft target? Deng Shintong pressed, then what outcome would satisfy you? Zhang Yi shook his head. I don't know. Deng Shintong was momentarily speechless. At least have a condition so people can negotiate with you. Now you say you don't even know what you want. What's the point of talking then? Though I don't know what I need. When they present their terms, I'll know what I don't want. Zhang Yi's lips curved upward as he reclined on the sofa, leisurely enjoying Zhou Qir's attendance. Those matters aren't my concern. After that, Zhang Yi made no further moves. His words had already served their purpose. Due to this incident, the Xinjiang region's high command convened consecutive days of meetings to deliberate on the matter. A black chariot-level dual-attribute temporal spatial mutant. Capable of appearing anywhere within Xinjiang city within 2 minutes. If Zhang Yi so desired, he could block every person's entry and exit from the city. Though Zhang Yi hadn't personally killed anyone yet, it hung like the sword of Damocles over every resident of Xinjiang, filling them with unease. Ultimately, Xinjiang expended immense effort to assemble the most esteemed figures from Huashu Kingdom. They convened in Blizzard City to negotiate a resolution with Zhang Yi. Hosting the meeting on his own turf, Zhang Yi naturally had no objections. Moreover, the attendees were largely old acquaintances. Northwest Region, Northwest King, Great Emperor Gochen, Li Changgong. Northeast Region, Luya Dao Lord, Han Shanzhua. East Sea Region, Azure Dragon, Su Xiaolong. Xinjiang Region, Jin Yuanzi, Zhong Yue. The Southwest Region sent an elderly monk, Wang Busanji. Though few in number, the attendees represented Huashu Kingdom's most powerful, influential, and respected figures. This alone demonstrated the immense cost the Xinjiang region had incurred to appease Zhang Yi's wrath. Simply summoning them was no easy feat. The meeting unfolded at the command center in the heart of Blizzard City. Zhang Yi habitually organized his equipment, adjusting his state to peak readiness. Should the situation shift, he could unleash his full combat potential instantly. Though the likelihood of a deadly confrontation with these individuals was extremely low, Zhang Yi wouldn't overlook even the slightest possibility. Once prepared, he stored everyone within his shadow space and, guided by the Yan Yunwei, entered the conference room. Squeak, the conference room door opened, revealing familiar figures. Zhang Yi smiled faintly and raised his hand to greet them. Long time no see, everyone. Li Changgong sat upright in his military uniform, arms crossed over his chest. He looked at Zhang Yi and gave a cold nod. Han Shanzhua, however, raised his hand in a casual wave. Hey there, kid. Haven't seen you in ages. Heard you've been doing pretty well lately. Just getting by. Zhang Yi chuckled softly, walking over to the massive table and taking his seat. Zhong Yu rested his large hands, crossed, on the table as he addressed Zhang Yi earnestly. Chaos, the representatives from our major regions have gathered here today in the hope of calming the fallout from this incident. You've already extracted substantial yuan stone deposits from Xinjiang. We urge you to cease further actions. This internal strife does not serve Huashu Kingdom well. Zhang Yi glanced at him and asked coolly, I want to know who ordered He Tu to attack me. Was it Qin Qigong? Zhong Yue frowned, hesitating for a long moment before responding evasively, you bear some responsibility for this situation. Neither your expedition to the southwest region nor your journey to Neon were reported to anyone. Yet you caused trouble abroad and now expect Huashu Kingdom to bear the consequences. Chaos, while I know you harbor no ill intent, you are far too reckless. Zhang Yi retorted, so you're saying if I'd filed a report, it would have been acceptable? Zhong Yue pondered this, finding no way to dispute it. Both of Zhang Yi's actions had averted immense crises, yielding benefits far outweighing any drawbacks for the 6 major regions. Theoretically, yes. Zhang Yi let out a cold laugh. Humph. So that means I did nothing wrong in this matter. You say I'm in the wrong simply because I didn't inform you beforehand. He spread his hands. But this is the justification Qin Qigong gave He Tu to strike against me? The Hell's Guillotine, capable of killing from 1,000 miles away. I've long heard of its fame, yet never imagined it would one day come from my own head. Zhong Yue hurriedly explained, I know you have no ill intent. But you are an epsilon of Huashu Kingdom, your every action represents Huashu. Yet you are a lone wolf, unrestrained by anyone. This is an extremely dangerous situation. Zhang Yi's gaze turned cold. Leaning forward, he crossed his arms on the table and stared intently into Zhong Yue's eyes as he spoke slowly, Oh? So unrestrained power becomes dangerous, is that it? Zhong Yue nodded hastily. Exactly. That's precisely what I mean. Zhang Yi chuckled softly. Then what about He Tu's power? Is there anyone among you who can restrain her? Against me, isn't her power wielded quite freely? Have you considered persuading me through gentler means rather than such brutal force? Zhong Yue found himself unable to counter this point. For He Tu was the guardian deity of the Xinjiang region, its ultimate weapon. Who could possibly restrain her? Even Qin Qigong had to plead for her aid, he couldn't command her. Considering this, Zhong Yue realized his own words lacked logic. Setting such high standards for others, yet failing to meet them himself. Zhang Yi shrugged. See? It's simple. Power speaks. Might makes right. Seeing Zhong Yue rendered speechless, Li Changgong spoke up. Enough, chaos. They truly crossed the line this time. But you've also made the Xinjiang region pay a heavy price. I see no need to dwell on this matter. We must prioritize the greater good. Zhang Yi's face twisted into a sneer. Li Changgong, hailing from the Xinjiang circle, naturally sided with them. The greater good? Isn't this the same logic you used when you forced the old commander of the Northwest region to step down? As someone who benefited from the status quo, what right do you have to lecture me about the greater good? Exposed for his past actions, Li Changdong's expression immediately turned awkward. What exactly do you want? Escalating this benefits no one. Zhang Yi gave a cold laugh. Leaning back lazily in his chair, he said, I just want justice for myself. Whoever attacked me must face proper punishment. Otherwise, how can I ever trust Xinjiang region again? Han Shanzuo's eyes widened. Holy crap, dude. You're going after Ho Tu. That's a bit of a stretch. Zongyue shook his head. Chaos, that's impossible. Ho Tu is the Xinjiang region's most crucial asset. No matter what, she's untouchable. Zhang Yi countered, then the question is, since I have no grudge against her, why would she attack me? Azure Dragon suddenly understood, you're looking for the one who ordered her to strike. At this point, the identity of that person was self-evident. Zongyue shook his head again, Zhang Yi, this is going too far. You should understand that this demand is utterly impossible. Zhang Yi spread his hands. That's for you to consider. You were the ones who overturned the table, placing the Hell's Guillotine sword against my throat. So now, my sword of Damocles will hang over every neck in Xinjiang. When you demand generosity from me, first consider this, if this happened to you, would you be able to remain as calm and composed as I am? In truth, I have shown remarkable restraint. Xinjiang should count itself fortunate that it is I, Zhang Yi, who stands before you. At these words, Li Changgong and the others instinctively began to ponder, what if they themselves were suddenly subjected to a remote attack by Ho Tu's abilities? The thought sent cold sweat running down their spines. Few had witnessed Ho Tu's abilities firsthand. Yet all knew of her terrifying combat record. She rarely intervened, but her most notorious act came 2 years prior, the instantaneous slaying of an Epsilon-tier mutant across 1,000 miles, mountains, and seas between them. If such power locked onto them, even if they survived, they'd likely be left crippled. If a major incident struck the region at that moment, it could prove fatal to them. Zhang Yi took in each of their expressions, a scornful smile curling his lips. When the sword doesn't cut you personally, of course you feel no pain. But today, let me make this clear, don't lecture me about grand principles or talk about prioritizing the greater good. I, Zhang Yi, have reached this point by fighting my way here step by step, with great caution and vigilance. Back when I fought my way out of the 2 million dead pile in Tianhai City, where was this so-called greater good you speak of? Where was that grand scheme when I was starving, freezing, facing death daily? Zhang Yi banged his fist on the table twice, his words cutting like a knife. I, Zhang Yi, am just a nobody. I don't have grand visions. All I know is this, whoever makes my life miserable, I'll make theirs miserable too. After delivering this speech, Zhang Yi stood up. All right, I've said my piece. I'll be waiting for your response. Zhang Yi kicked his chair aside, ready to leave. There was no point wasting time arguing with them, they only spouted grand principles, a complete waste of time. Chaos. Li Changgong slammed his fist on the table, his voice sharp and commanding. I know you've grown stronger, but don't get too cocky. If all of us attacked you at once, you might not be able to kill us all. Hearing this, Zhang Yi paused slightly, turning back with an amused look to survey the assembled crowd. The great monk, Wang Bo, raised his palm. Amitabha, this monk has never relished violence. Layman, calm down. Han Shanzuo also shook his head hastily, it's not that, bro. We're never afraid of a fight. It's just. There's really no need for this. Zhang Yi said, there's no need for all this posturing here either. The real decision-maker isn't even present. With that, Zhang Yi walked out of the conference room. Once Zhang Yi was gone, Li Changgong snorted coldly and sank back into his chair. Earlier, when he locked eyes with Zhang Yi, a chill had run down his spine, like being stared down by a fierce tiger. I never imagined his strength would improve so much in just half a year. He even took down Zongyue in one move. My combat power is only 18,000, while his is at least 20,000. This price tag from Xinjiang region won't be easy to meet. But I've said everything I needed to say. They won't be able to blame me for anything later. Among those present, only Zongyue frowned deeply. Zhang Yi's stance was firm. Qin Qigong or Hotu would definitely bear the consequences for this incident. For the entire Xinjiang region, this would trigger a significant upheaval. Zongyue's visit ultimately failed to accomplish the mission entrusted to him by Qin Qigong. Zhang Yi insisted that Xinjiang must be made accountable for this matter, refusing to let the mastermind behind it off the hook. And now, Zongyue understood all too well that Zhang Yi possessed the authority to make such demands. With a sigh of resignation, he abandoned his final attempt to persuade Zhang Yi and instead reported the news truthfully to Xinjiang. As for Li Changgong and the others, though they too offered words of counsel, none were willing to be an enemy to Zhang Yi. After fulfilling their surface-level duties, they each returned to their respective posts. Xinjiang headquarters. The High Command convened another meeting to address this matter. After several days of deliberation, the meeting concluded with Qin Qigong voluntarily requesting to step down from his post. This matter stems from my professional failure. I cannot escape responsibility. If chaos insists on holding someone accountable, then let it be me. Qin Qigong stated with resignation at the high-level meeting. In response, the senior officials seated below, Xinjiang's true decision-makers, exchanged glances before silently nodding in agreement. If Qin Qigong was willing to step down, it was an outcome everyone preferred. What Zhang Yi needed at this moment was a clear stance from the Xinjiang region, a gesture offering him a face-saving exit. From Zhang Yi's actions, it was clear he wasn't launching a reckless assault on the Xinjiang region. Even during the incidents at Ghost Valley and Snow Dragon City, he hadn't killed a single Xinjiang official. If you can see it that way, it couldn't be better. A white-haired elder spoke up, one of Xinjiang region's power brokers, a senior figure even to Qin Qigong. Someone nearby immediately interjected, but after Qigong steps down, who will take his place? The uncles and elders present were all advanced in age. They only stepped forward during major decision-making events for the Xinjiang region. Yet managing the entire region day-to-day was an incredibly tedious task, one they no longer had the time or energy to handle. Therefore, they needed to find a younger generation figure like Qin Qigong. Qin Qigong cleared his throat. Well, I remain the supreme commander of the Xinjiang region. Might I suggest a candidate for my successor? The senior officials turned to him with questioning looks. Qin Qigong stated, I believe Meng Yuanjun is qualified to take my place. At the mention of this name, many eyes flashed with sudden understanding. Meng Yuanjun and Qin Qigong were from the same generation. They had once been rivals, yet they had also worked together. Meng Yuanjun's abilities were truly remarkable. However, everyone looked at Qin Qigong, puzzled by his approach. After all, according to custom, no one would recommend a former rival to succeed them upon stepping down. Qin Qigong merely smiled faintly, a hint of bitterness in his expression. Times have changed. In peaceful years, I certainly wouldn't let him rise above me. But now, the external landscape is shifting rapidly. Whether it's the Huashu Kingdom or us, we could face daunting challenges at any moment. Therefore, the position of Supreme Commander must be filled by someone with sufficient capability to command the grand strategy. His concerns extend far beyond just the Xinjiang region. They encompass the entire world. An elderly man nodded. You speak wisely, and it's rare to find such insight. We will give Meng Yuanjun's matter serious consideration. 3 days later, news arrived from the Xinjiang region. Qin Qigong formally stepped down from his position as Supreme Commander of the Xinjiang region. This served as the price for his actions against Chaos, the Jiangnan region's most formidable combat force. Upon receiving this news, Zhang Yi felt a wave of relief wash over him. Avoiding direct, large-scale conflict was the best possible outcome. This development even surprised him. After all, when he'd made his outrageous demands, he'd never imagined Qin Qigong would step down. His goal had been purely to secure greater benefits. It's perfectly reasonable, brother. After all, you're now a precious strategic asset for the entire Huashu kingdom. Yang Xinxin smiled as she sat on Zhang Yi's lap, swinging her two slender, white calves. Zhang Yi smiled faintly. I understand the logic perfectly well. I just didn't expect him to actually relinquish his power. Yang Xinxin said, the times dictated, there's no room for personal choice. Whether it's Qin Qigong or Zhu Zheng, they're merely representatives of a collective. When they offend the collective's interests, they naturally face corresponding consequences. At that moment, Liang Yu, cradling dragon's roar nearby, frowned, a flicker of worry crossing her eyes. Noticing her expression, Zhang Yi propped his chin on his hand and asked casually, Liang Yu, what's wrong? Why the worried look? Liang Yu lifted her head to meet Zhang Yi's gaze, then glanced at Yang Xinxin and the others before letting out a long sigh. I just can't understand why someone like Qin Qigong would make such an absurd decision. Zhang Yi knew she wasn't referring to Qin Qigong stepping down, but rather his order for He Tu to attack Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi chuckled dismissively at her words. This world is one big giant charade. Those figures you think are untouchable and flawless? They don't even exist. He pointed toward Fatty Su, who was playing games nearby. Look, even someone like Fatty Su is already a legend across the entire Jiangnan region. Those who don't know him assume he must be a fearless warrior, having fought countless battles alongside me. But the truth? Fatty Su looked up, his expression innocent. First off, I haven't offended anyone. Zhang Yi shot him a withering glance. Go play games with your sissy friends. Got it, boss. Fatty Su scampered off to the side. Zhang Yi turned to Liang Yu. Same principle. Qin Qigong has this aura around him that makes you think he's infallibly wise, every decision he makes brilliant. But the truth is, even the smartest people make mistakes sometimes. He smiled, spreading his hands. And here's the crucial point. He has absolutely no idea of my true capabilities. Zhang Yi's explanation brought a look of sudden enlightenment to Liang Yu's face. So, we shouldn't be misled by the halos around certain people, right? Everyone is just ordinary. Zhang Yi nodded. Turning to the person waiting for his response, he said, inform Xinjing that I am highly satisfied with their wise decision. This matter ends here. I hope we can continue to work together in the future, striving to build the Huashu kingdom into a harmonious, prosperous, and powerful nation. The clerk dispatched from Xinjing wore a flattering smile. He rubbed his hands together. Your Excellency Chaos, you see, since Xinjing has already provided you with a satisfactory response regarding this matter. Might it be possible to return those spirit stone veins you previously took? Impossible. Zhang Yi answered without hesitation. What a joke. Once something was in his mouth, there was no way he was spitting it back out. The clerk's face froze instantly, but he persisted, unwilling to give up. Even returning half would be acceptable. After all, you took far too much at once, more than Xinjing's total mining output over the past 3 years. Zhang Yi walked over and patted the clerk on the shoulder. What's yours and what's mine? We're all subjects of Huashu Kingdom. We're all serving our homeland. Whether it's in my hands or the Xinjing region, it's the same. My friend, you need to broaden your perspective. Ignoring the clerk's pleading gaze, Zhang Yi promptly ushered him out. With Qin Qigong having stepped down from the Xinjing region, there was no reason to risk further conflict over the Yuan stone vein. This time, Zhang Yi had truly struck gold. In high spirits, he gathered everyone, bid farewell to Zhu Zheng, and prepared to return to Tianhai City. However, he had no intention of returning the satellite control rights for the Jiangnan region to Zhu Zheng. Stepping out of the room, Zhang Yi looked up at the sky, gray and overcast, yet with patches of brightness. Snowflakes continued to drift down softly. The boundless depths of space held an intense unease, as if a colossal reaper of love might plunge from above at any moment. We absolutely must consider this impact. Zhang Yi murmured softly. Yang Xinxin reassured him, brother, there's no need to worry about that. We can detect the movements of every silo worldwide. We'll have ample time to respond. Zhang Yi rubbed his temples. But that's not enough. Even if we can predict these threats in advance, our base in Tianhai City could still be attacked and destroyed. The thought alone makes me uneasy. He glanced to his side, where his chief mechanic and sole mechanical expert, Liu Karen, stood obediently behind him. Karen, have you made any progress with your research? The plan I proposed earlier, turning Tianhai City into a massive fortress. Is it feasible? At the mention of her field of work, Liu Karen's face lit up with excitement. Brother, it's already in the planning stages. The outer walls of our shelter have just undergone their 6th complete material replacement. The basement can now withstand the impact of a small-scale Reaper of Love. The most crucial part is the addition of barrier stone. It provides excellent defense against attacks from all types of mutant. Barrier stone was a material Zhang Yi discovered in the underground realm of Nash Kingdom within the southwest region. Though Nash Kingdom maintained ancient kingdom lifestyles, they possessed this unique material, barrier stone, which significantly disrupted the abilities of mutant beings. Even Zhang Yi and his team had suffered greatly from it during their time in Nash Kingdom. Zhang Yi remembered it vividly, which is why he'd brought back substantial quantities for Liu Karen's research. Hearing Liu Karen had achieved promising results, Zhang Yi nodded with satisfaction. Excellent. We must continuously upgrade our defensive fortifications. Zhang Yi took a deep breath. I have this feeling. Sooner or later, we'll face even more formidable enemies. His muscles tensed, an instinctive urge to hug his shoulders tightening. Only an absolutely impenetrable defense can give me true peace of mind. He had made his plan. Any future the source of God or spirit of sacrifice must be reserved for Liu Karen's use. It wasn't about her combat prowess, but his hope that she would forge the most impregnable sanctuary in the world for Zhang Yi. Xinjing City. Blizzards raged beneath a gloomy sky. The military airport in Xinjing City was now under heavy guard, the air thick with a bleak, grim atmosphere. Along the roadside, the Dragon Guardians in combat uniforms, wielding specialized weapons, stood as straight as spears. Inside, the airport doors had opened. A massive F-37, cigar-shaped, sat at the entrance, awaiting departure. Though stepping down today after 3 years at the helm of the Xinjing region, the man's face showed no trace of melancholy, only a noticeable ease. Escorted by his guards, he made his way to the airport. After stepping down, he would leave Xinjing to take up duties in Ningxing, a city on the outskirts of the Xinjing region. Life there was far harsher than in Xinjing, with sparse population and scarce resources. Originally, Xinjing's leadership had prepared excellent retirement conditions for him, hoping he would step back from the front lines. Yet Qin Shigong merely laughed heartily. After the apocalypse, the world's situation remains unsettled. My heart refuses to grow still. He declared this, then voluntarily requested to go to Ningxing to rebuild that harsh, frigid land. At the airport, guards carried his suitcases, ready to escort him onto the plane. But just then, a man approached from another direction. A middle-aged man, roughly Qin Shigong's age but appearing more youthful, tall and lean. This was Meng Yuanjun, who would succeed Qin Shigong as the second supreme commander of the special period for the Xinjing region. The two old friends, and longtime rivals, met again, their eyes locking. A smile touched Qin Shigong's face, while Meng Yuanjun's expression held complexity. The guards nearby sensed the tension and discreetly stepped back. The two men approached each other. Qin Shigong extended his right hand and said to Meng Yuanjun, "Congratulations, old Meng. You're now the top dog in Xinjing region." Two strong, calloused hands clasped firmly. Meng Yuanjun replied, "When I heard you recommended me, I couldn't quite believe it." A deep smile spread across Qin Shigong's face. "You'll understand why I did this soon enough." Meng Yuanjun raised an eyebrow. "No need to wait. Don't think I don't know, this position isn't exactly a cushy one. These were no peaceful times. Huashu Kingdom faced internal turmoil and external threats, grappling with myriad challenges. As the Xinjiang region representing the Huashu kingdom, its supreme commander would have his hands full. Qin Shigong laughed heartily. What? Scared? Don't be ridiculous. Scared of what? Meng Yuanjun chuckled. I just never imagined you'd make such a misstep. He stared at Qin Shigong, his words carrying a weighty undertone. Meng Yuanjun's words, of course, referred to Qin Shigong's unauthorized use of Heart Sutra to attack chaos. He shrugged his shoulders. Epsilon is the highest tier combat force of an entire nation. Even space-based weapons aren't as crucial as they are. Yet you provoked conflict between them. That move, I must say, was incredibly foolish. Qin Shigong let out a cold laugh. Meng Yuanjun, I may have stumbled this time. But remember, he lifted his proud head, his eyes brimming with arrogance, I did nothing wrong. Plans are made by man, but success is in the hands of heaven. My assessment of Epsilon was flawless. The nation requires balance, no single entity can be allowed to dominate. Heroes wielding martial might to defy prohibitions, extraordinary individuals possessing immense power, they are prone to overstepping boundaries. You will understand this point even more profoundly once you ascend to power. Meng Yuanjun remained silent for a long moment before smiling and shaking his head. I am not like you. Qin Shigong retorted, and how exactly are you different from me? What superior methods do you possess to restrain those unruly mutants? Meng Yuanjun chuckled. You, both now and in the past, have this one old flaw. No matter how significant the matter, you must personally oversee it, never trusting others' capabilities. Perhaps now that we're both older, this constant desire to control everything only makes us prone to failing at everything. Qin Shigong studied Meng Yuanjun intently from head to toe. What do you mean by that? Are you saying I don't trust them? You don't trust anyone. Meng Yuanjun spoke with profound meaning, none of us knows what this world will become. Can our outdated experiences from the past truly handle the world of today? You wish to restore order, to return everything to how it was before the apocalypse. But you forget, it's already too late. A sharp pang struck Qin Shigong's heart. As an old friend and longtime rival, Meng Yuanjun had pierced straight to his core with a single sentence. He feared young men like Zhang Yi. Because the young acted with reckless abandon, making him feel he couldn't control everything. Perhaps that was the real reason he had targeted Zhang Yi. Qin Shigong's gaze grew troubled. Could it be that he had truly acted solely for personal gain, rather than for the greater good as Qin had believed? Once you reach Ningxing, take the time to ponder this question properly. Times are changing, and we must change with them. Only by not fearing these changes can we better integrate ourselves into this world. Meng Yuanjun patted his shoulder before turning away. After he left, Qin Shigong's guards cautiously approached, supporting the dazed general. General Qin, shall we proceed? Qin Shigong offered no reply, merely turning mechanically. With his guard's assistance, he climbed the aircraft steps. Yet his back, in that instant, seemed to have aged a decade. The conflict between Zhang Yi and the Xinjiang region had reached a temporary conclusion. But everyone knew that once a rift formed, even if mended, the scars of the past could never be fully concealed. This incident served as a warning to Zhang Yi. Only by building his own strength could he face any danger with composure. He absolutely could not pin his hopes for safety on others. I must forge my own secure kingdom. Right here in Tianhai City. Without relying on anyone, I can confront any external crisis that may come. Zhang Yi solidified this conviction.